back to Just Tiffany. I wanted to do a quick video on a testimony of God keeping his promises. If you don't know, I am a Christian and I have been a believer and saved since I was 25. And so I just want to give this testimony about God being a promise keeper. And there is a song called Waymaker. And I cannot, since I've had the boys, these two fellas. This is Tamias. Hi, I'm Tamias. And this is Piers. Say hi. It's like, what is all this, mommy? So in the song it says, Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. So every time it says promise keeper, I just get so emotional because Tamias is a promise that God kept to me. In 2015, it was March. It was right after Symphony turned 1. I found out that I was pregnant. And I wouldn't say that I was overjoyed or anything like that because it just came at a very difficult time in my life. And that's not to say that I didn't want the baby or that I wanted to have an abortion or anything like that. That's not to say that. But it just was like, I wasn't trying to have a baby right now. I was going back to school. I just got through, I was in the process of finishing nursing Symphony. And so I wanted to finish school and I wanted to get some things together for my family. So I was a little shocked, but I was in love at the same time. I'm the type of mother that when I found out I was pregnant, even though I was like, the timing is a little off, I still loved my baby. And so, I started looking at names, paying attention to my symptoms and different things like that. And so one of the names that I found was Tamias, and it means to honor. And so I knew that if I had a boy, that would be his name. And then I was, looking at different names for girls. And I won't share the names that I have for girls just because that's not something I want to do. So I went to the doctor, got checked out. Everything looked good. I was about 5 weeks, almost 6 weeks when I went and got checked out, and everything looked, good as far as they could see. And they told me to come back and around 10 weeks, 10, 11 weeks, no problem. So I went on. I didn't have the symptoms like I did with Symphony nor Micah. With Micah, I was very nauseous. I threw up the week before I had him, and I was on medicine for nausea. With Symphony, I felt nauseous. I didn't throw up. She literally took my breath away from the time I found out that I was pregnant with her till I had her. She literally took my breath away. I just had to stay away from certain foods with her. And so went on about my life, going to school. I didn't really share the news because I had a miscarriage my first pregnancy, so I'm a little secretive when it comes to sharing that news so early on. So I went to the doctor at 10 weeks thinking that everything was going to be fine. Every pregnancy is different. You're not going to have the same symptoms in every pregnancy. And so me not having the same symptoms wasn't alarming to me. It's just, it's a pregnancy. You don't know what you're going to have. So I went and I went to my 10-week appointment, and they did an ultrasound. They're like, oh, we need you to do an ultrasound. I was like 10 weeks, 11 weeks. It was right in the middle of that, between 10 and 11 weeks. So I went and had the ultrasound, and I went back up. They wanted me to, it was like lunch break, so I had to wait for my doctor to come back. So they called me in the room, and they told me that the baby had passed at 7.5 weeks. So for about 3 weeks, I had been carrying around my baby, and my baby was dead. So the doctor told me that I didn't think I was going to get emotional, but the doctor told me that I had two options, and that was to have a DNC or to allow my body to do it naturally. And she told me I didn't have to decide right then, but those were my two options. And when I started crying, I love my doctor so much. Her name is Dr. Kubinick, and if you live in the Sullivan County area, I highly recommend her. This was my first time seeing her, and with that pregnancy, so the first time I saw her, I was like 5 weeks pregnant. Then I went back to see her, and I was like 10 and a half weeks or whatever, and found out that my baby had died. And when I started crying, she cried with me. And you know, so many doctors, they don't have that sympathy for you. They're not there for you in times like that. And so, you know, she was right there, and she told me, you know, take some time, think about it, and then call me and let me know what you want to do, and we'll set up and do whatever you want to do. And so I talked to my husband, and I said, I think I just want to go ahead and do the DNC. My body hadn't gotten rid of, I don't like saying hadn't gotten rid of, but, you know, there's no really other way to say it. My body hadn't gotten rid of the baby on its own. And so I had to have a DNC, where a DNC is where they go in and they basically scrape your uterus and take the baby out. They put you to sleep and everything, so you don't feel anything, but it's still a mind game, you know, to know that your baby died and you carried that baby for 3 weeks dead, and you didn't even know. And now you're going to the doctor, and the doctor is going to remove the baby. My first miscarriage, everything happened naturally. And I still remember that baby's due date. This particular baby that I was pregnant with in 2015 was due November 14th, 2015. And so, you know, it was just hard for me. But I thank God that I had Micah and Tiffany, because it made it a little easier, because, you know, I knew I could have children. The first, and I'll talk about that in another video, my first miscarriage and how that affected me. But, you know, it still was sad. And even though, you know, the timing was off, you know, I still wanted my baby. I didn't want my baby to pass. But, you know, I can't tell you what happened. You know, they say usually that early, you know, usually it's something in the chromosomes, and the body is just like, you know, this baby isn't going to live. So your body or the chromosome, however it works, it just doesn't come to pass. And I know that God was there with me even after I lost my baby, because I want to say like maybe a couple months after I had the miscarriage in the DNC, I wasn't trying to get pregnant again. I didn't want to get pregnant again. I didn't want to have to possibly deal with that heartache and pain. So I want to say it was that same year God spoke to me and told me, it was that same year, God spoke to me and told me that I was going to have a son, and that his name was Tiffany, and that there was certain things that I needed to do with him. And gave me his middle name, which his middle name is Lemuel. And so he told me to start preparing for Tiffany's, and that I did. I had a box that I had full of baby boy clothes. And I remember God telling me something about January. Now, I thought that Tiffany's was going to be born in January, so I was trying to buy like wintry stuff, because it gets cold up here, for that. But lo and behold, he was conceived in January. He wasn't born in January. He was conceived in January. And so when I look at this little when I look at this little chunky boy, I'm trying not to cry. He's a reminder to me that God is a promise keeper. And not only did he keep his promise to me, but he gave me an extra blessing in Pierce, because when I found out I was pregnant in January of last year, I knew it was Tamias. It was not a shadow of doubt in my head. Like, if my mom was here, my mom would tell you that I told her, like, it's a boy. And I knew that it was Tamias. And so when I went to the hospital, because I was having some bleeding, and the lady told me that it was twins, I said, oh my God. So I just wanted to share this story about God being a promise keeper. And not only does he keep his promises, he exceeds them, because not only did he give me the son that he promised me, he gave me an extra son that I didn't even ask for. And while their pregnancy, and I'll talk about it in another video, was difficult, and their delivery was very traumatic and very hard for me, he kept the three of us, and we're all here. And I just want you to know that if God has promised you something, that he will fulfill the promise that he gave to you. And even in him fulfilling your promise, he'll exceed what he told you that he was going to do. The Bible says, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, nor has it entered into the thoughts of men what God is going to do for you. And I'm just so grateful to God for blessing me with both my sons, because Pierce is a miracle. Just because he's an addition, just because God didn't tell me that he was coming, doesn't mean that he's not a miracle. He is, because I don't have twins in my family. And the fact that I'm holding both of them and all that I endured, he's a miracle. And so I just wanted to share with you about God keeping his promises, and that he is a promise keeper. And though it may not happen the way you think that it's going to happen, or doesn't play out, because I just thought that it was going to be Tamias, and I was going to have a good pregnancy, just like I did with Mike and Tiffany. Maybe some sickness, but not to the degree that I experienced with them. And that I would be okay, with their labor, and hear him cry, and everything would be fine. And, everything kind of went different. A lot of things transpired. But the takeaway that I want you to get is that he is a promise keeper, and he will fulfill that which he said he would do. For he is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should repent. And so, if he promised you something, I just want you to look at this little boy and know that he keeps his promises. And know that whatever he told you that he's going to do, that he will do. Yes. Yes. And I'm very grateful to God for keeping his promise and fulfilling it. So I didn't want to get emotional, and I wasn't planning on it, but it's okay. It's okay to show emotions. I just want to thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and click on that bell to be notified. And, just chat with me in the comment section about how God kept the promise to you, or, whatever. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to go take care of these two young fellas. Let me see if I can show you their shirts. It says, yes, we're twins. And Pierce says, no, we don't look identical. So, thanks again for watching. Just